Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back for another video. For those of you in the United States, happy Labor Day. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I hope you have a great rest of your week. For those of you outside of the United States, happy to see you, I suppose. I know it's been a while. Not going to get into it now. I did want to give a brief update with what I'm seeing with Bitcoin and the overall market as a whole, and just mostly because there's a reason why. It's mostly for this, that there really hasn't been much of a change over the last, like 6 months. And then I would say recently there has been a change in how I've seen things, and just I wanted to forward that to you. And I'd love to be back. I'd love to be making content on a much more regular basis, and I'm hoping to do that. So stick around if this is something that you are interested in seeing more of. More content on here, on TikTok, on other platforms as well. But let's just go ahead and dive on into this just to show you what I'm looking at here. So I talk a lot about the bull market support band, how key this is, at least in my opinion, in just trying to figure out, are we in a bullish or bearish or crabbish season right now? And you can see 2023 has been up until recently a very good year when it comes to paying attention to the bull market support band. We broke through that the first week of January, broke it through the upside, and then held that as support for the first half of the year. And more than that, we had a perfect bounce off the 20-week SMA during that the Silicon Valley Bank scare. And then we had a not on the daily candle, but on weekly candle, we had a gnarly wick below the bull market support band, but then bounced really well off of that. But then this time around in August, 2 weeks ago, we couldn't hold the bull market support band as support. And so what does that mean? I mean, well, my general rule, again, I've said this a lot, is that I am bullish as we are above the bull market support band, and I am more bearish, I lean bearish as we're below it. And so the general rule is you see Bitcoin pump up and then get back down to the bull market support band. When it gets back down to the bull market support band, that's a great time to buy. This was a great time to buy right here in June, on June 15th of 2023. Logically, this would have been a good time to buy on August 17th because we generally hold the bull market support band. And that is my bias until proven wrong. And so now, all right, we fell through the bull market support band, not the end of the world, but here's the kind of thing I was looking for. You remember last week, we saw Grayscale win their suit against the SEC, which unfortunately isn't as big of a deal as many of us hoped, because all that means for moving forward with Grayscale is now the SEC has to give Grayscale a reason why they're going to reject Grayscale converting to a Bitcoin ETF. So it ended up being a non-event, but what we saw this nice Bitcoin pump up to the bull market support band, and then what happened? Perfect rejection right there. And so now my bias has shifted to a point where I believe what we're going to see, just flip your mindset. Think about it as a trader. You see Bitcoin get up to the bull market support band until it breaks through. That is a great time to either open a short or to sell your shares, your coins, if you are a trader. Obviously, it's just a good time to accumulate. I would just generally recommend accumulation if you're not the kind of person who is going to be getting in and out. But if you are a trader, this is the time. This is the time to be greedy when it comes to shorting, and this is the time to be greedy when it comes to accumulating. You see Bitcoin far below the bull market support band. That's a good time to accumulate. I do generally believe, I am now generally bearish, not mega bearish, but I do believe, especially now, that $31,800 was the peak for 2023. Unless we see something like, all right, the Bitcoin halving is in April of 2024. We see some kind of move begin, in late November, early December. But in general, I think we're going to see a new high in January or February before the Bitcoin halving. And so now I think we're going to be in a little bit of a downtrend. I mean, guys, honestly, 3-4 months, that's not a long time. I'm expecting the 21-week EMA, the 20-week SMA to offer some level of resistance over the next few months, not several months. This is short term. Short term, I am just bearish. So where are we looking at when it comes to our levels? I mean, 24, lower 24s, 24.4, that's going to be a heavy level of support. 25.2 is a heavy level of support. Given the fact that it is 3 months, in my opinion, we're either going to crab along within this range here, the bottom part of this range. And by the range, I mean between $25,000 and $31,000. But because we have these key EMAs here, not only the 21-week EMA and the 20-week SMA, but the 200-week simple moving average, the 200-day simple moving average, they're all around here at $26,000, $27,000, around that range. And so I could see us hanging around between 24 and the moving averages at $27,000, somewhere in between there for the rest of the year. We could certainly go lower. And if we do go lower, this is my target, 21.8, 21.8, 21.5, something like that. Do I think we're going to go back down to $15,800? I don't think so, aside from, and I hold this very loosely because we saw something similar happen with the COVID crash in 2020. So it did happen. We did revisit those lows in 2020. There is a scenario where I could see that happening, where there is some kind of major economic event that happens that just sends us lower, black swan, if you will. But in my opinion, I would say with a great deal of confidence that this would be about 21 would be like the lowest. Without a black swan, the lowest that I would see Bitcoin going would be something like $21,000, in the $21,000 range. But 50-50 in my opinion. We're going to either hang around this 24, 28 before the next move up, or go down to that 21 and bounce there pretty hard and then move higher, aside from some kind of black swan event. And I did mention, so we have the 200-week SMA, the 200-week simple moving average has been a fantastic historic holding, a level of support. It's right there. There was so much resistance when it comes to the moving averages, and the 200-week SMA has been rising since Bitcoin existed for 200 weeks. It's just been rising nonstop since then. That will continue to rise no matter what. The 200-day simple moving average, right around the same spot. I mean, these four averages converged right around that point of resistance last week. That is going to come down, and that is going to be another level of resistance. So, I mean, just for the next few months, we're going to have lots of resistance here. And looking at the levels, same deal. 26.9 is the top of the range, in my opinion, over these next few months. But you never know. Who knows? Maybe, from a bullish perspective, we would see a spot Bitcoin ETF approved. I don't think that's in the cards for 2023. It seems like it would fit very well within this Bitcoin halving narrative for that to happen sometime after the next Bitcoin halving. They do pay attention to that. Market makers with lots of power, with a desire to see the markets move when they say it's going to move. I could see that fitting within the narrative. So a couple other things I'm paying attention to. CME FedWatch tool, very, very highly likely, 93% that in 16 days from now, the Fed is going to keep rates where they are. A 7% chance that they're going to raise rates another 25 basis points. They have been communicating this message of higher for longer, and I do believe that that's going to be the case for the next several months, for the remainder of this year into 2024. But there's something that I'm keeping my eye on, and it's simply this. Right now, we are seeing from the federal budget, the United States federal budget, servicing on the interest payments alone is at 8%. Now that may not sound alarming. To me, that the alarm bells are blaring. 8% of the budget is interest alone. And that percentage is only going to increase over the years and over the decades. But here's what this means for the short term. What we're looking at with these higher interest rates is we're going to see rollovers in the interest rates that we are servicing. And by the estimates that I have read, once these rollovers happen, we're going to see a portion of the federal budget it's going to be $1.56 trillion is going to be the dollar amount of the interest that the U.S. government is servicing. And this is just what's going on in my head right now. I cannot picture any administration, whether it's by the Biden administration, whether it's Trump, whether it's whoever wins the next 2024 election, or whoever's president right now, whether that's Biden or someone pulling the strings behind him. You know my opinions on Biden. They're not going to be okay with a $1.56 trillion debt servicing. They are going to want to. I mean, when we look at where inflation is, you know, by their metrics, not mine, but by their metrics, inflation is defeated. Okay, we won. All right, we have defeated inflation. We are back down to a reasonable level. Okay, we're not back down to 2%, but we're at 3%. And we're going to be having this $1.56 trillion debt servicing. I can't picture any administration being like, okay, yeah, let's pay $1.56 trillion to the interest on our federal debt. So what does that mean? That means that eventually we are going to see the Federal Reserve lower interest rates again. Inflation is defeated. And you guys, I'm being totally sarcastic, but they are going to declare that inflation's defeated. They're going to lower rates. They're going to get pressure from the administration, singular, not plural, and they are going to lower rates. And so what does that mean? Well, we'll see. I've talked about before that that may be a sign that a recession is coming. And so you never know what it means for this, but I will eventually share my Bitcoin price predictions. And I'm going to tell you this right now. After post-halving, there are certain things that if these things do not happen, I don't believe Bitcoin is going to put in a higher high between 2024 and 2028. Now, the things that I'm talking about, those things are very, very, very likely to happen. Okay, but if those things don't happen, I'm telling you, Bitcoin, in my opinion, is not going above $69,000 next time around. But that'll be a discussion for another video. I just wanted to share my thoughts, considering that my bias has switched for the first time since January 1st, essentially, of this year, that I wanted to just lay those thoughts out here. And I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section of this video. Where do you think we're going with Bitcoin? Yeah, I'd love to hear what you have to say. Otherwise, I will see you in